Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. This week on my Facebook Live I made a couple of gift card holders and these were the two that I made. And let me just show you how they work because it's a really pretty little card, but then when you open the inside you've got space for a gift card. So it's like this, you have this little pocket, so those larger gift cards will fit in. You know those ones that are like a double size? They will fit in. The smaller gift cards fit in this little envelope here, or this little pocket. And I'm actually going to put banknotes in some of mine, and I find that the banknotes fit perfectly too. But I didn't want to use the same set that I'd used for my Facebook Live, so what I've decided to go with is this Season of Chic set, and this is in the annual catalogue, and I think it's one of those overlooked sets. You look at it and think, oh, it's got a few flowers and shells, but it is really one for all seasons. I used this for my fall cards. I'm going to use this flower, which is really part of the summer collection, but I'm going to use it for my winter collection. It's got the little shells, the snowflakes, and the snowflakes would work well for this card, but I want to use the flowers. And then it's got a few beautiful sentiments, and then the dies that go with it will cut out each of the stamps, and there are also some standalone dies, like these ones, these little flowers, some of the leaves, this beautiful cross hatching. So there's lots in there. And the paper I'm going to use is also from the Texture Chic set, and I'm using the one that has like the barnwood on it and then the golds and the greens on the back. I was going to use the snowflakey one because I was going to make this with the snowflakes, but then I decided at the last minute that no, let's make it with a flower instead. Okay, so I'm not going to make the base of the card first, I'm actually going to do the decoration. So let's move that out of the way, and I'm going to do some heat embossing. I'm using this little flower, like I said, and that's going to be for the front of our card, like this part here. So I'm going to do flowers from here, heat emboss them with our gold embossing powder, cut them out, and then they will become the front of the card. But I'm also going to stamp this for the inside. So it may be a long video, and please just fast forward to the bits that you need. Don't worry, you don't have to watch all of it and listen to me all through the video. Okay, so I've started with just a little bit of real red. It's actually just a scrap, and I'm going to get a sheet of scratch paper just to put it on. Okay, now when you heat emboss, if you've touched the cards lots and lots of times, you might get static on there, and some of the heat embossing powder will stick on there. So what I do is use like a little embossing buddy. I think these have got cornstarch in, and just go over the whole thing before you stamp. Okay, now you saw that I touched that a lot of times, so I'm trying now to only touch the corners. I've got my stamp already on my block, and I'm going to stamp with Versamark. Now Versamark is a very different kind of ink to stamp with. It's a very sticky, gloopy ink. And let me just show you a little bit. This is actually the refill. And when you squeeze it out, it takes a long time to squeeze because it's thick. You see how it's sort of gluey-like almost. And when you stamp with it, it does stay wet for a long time. It's a little bit sticky. You can stamp with it on cardstock. Let me show you on this other scrap. So just plain Versamark. If you stamp on cardstock, it will give you a tone-on-tone image. As it dries, you get to see more of the image. But if you don't have lots of ink colours, it's a really great way to do lots of stamping. But I'm going to use it for heat embossing. And when I first started to use it, I thought you had to press down really hard and for a long time because I'd seen a demonstrator do that. But actually, all that does is distort your image and you get the lines a little bit too thick maybe. So all you need to do is just stick it in your pad a couple of times, press down like you would just for a normal stamp, take it off. I'm going to do 3. See how I'm trying not to touch the middle of the card now? And that's it. And because it takes a long time to dry, it gives you a little while to make a space on your desk and get your embossing powder ready. This is an old tray from Stampin' Up, but they do have a new set in the mini catalogue that finishes at the end of December. And it's got a little tray like this in it as well. And I find the tray useful for me. Okay, so I've got all of my powder in a little box. It comes in a little plastic pot. I like having more space for putting it away again. I can sometimes do with a spoon and sprinkle over, but I like this tray so that I can just hold my image in here, look, and just sprinkle over. You don't need too much. And when you've finished and have a look at it, if you find that you've missed a couple of areas, it's easy just to sprinkle more on again. I'm going to tap it off and just check that it's all stamped. Yeah, and there's embossing powder on all of it. Yeah, I don't see any in the middle of the flowers. If you did, I would just use a little brush and brush some away. But because we used that embossing body, it means that you don't get much of that. It's not going to stick. And then the joy of this, and you can see why I use a bigger box, is that it's got a little hole at the end. Mine came with a rubber stopper, but I don't know where that is anymore. So you can just do that, and then you haven't got a lot of mess anywhere. Remember in the old days when we used to have like a piece of folded paper, and we would, you know, fold it in half, and when you had glitter and everything, and sprinkle it back in. Well, this makes it just that little bit easier. Oh look, now I've got it on my desk. That was because I was just showing you that paper. Okay, now you need to use a heat tool, and this is a Stampin' Up one. It's the old one. Some of them will have 2 heat settings on. This is all you need. It's not too hot. It's just right for heat embossing. Okay, it is a little bit noisy. You can hold this with your fingers, but be careful because it does get hot near your fingers. I sometimes will hold mine with tweezers, but I always start by putting some heat onto the back of the card. That gives it time to warm up. And also, just turn it off, you can see it's starting to bend. When you start to heat emboss, the card will bend. And I find that if I've already bent it that way, once I start to use the embossing tool on the side with the powder, then it goes a little bit more straight. So, and then, oh, I'll turn it off a second, sorry. And then as it heats, you can see it change. It will go from a powder to a shiny metallic surface. Go round in little circles, don't stay in one place all the time. You can just see that it's starting to heat. You see how it changes? And that's it. It's almost like magic. You know, once that powder heats up, then it sets really quickly, and now it's shiny. If when you look at it, you find that there's a little bit that's not heat set, just get your tool back out again, go over it again. So, can you see how I didn't notice that I had a little bit of powder just here? So, because there's powder there, it will automatically heat set it. But that's okay. I don't mind a couple of little bits. If there was a lot and you could see it, then I certainly would brush it away. Now, with these, I'm going to use this die here. And because our card bends a little bit, I always use just a little bit of a post-it note or a little bit of washi tape, and I don't like it too sticky, so I will go over it with my thumb or I'll put it on my clothing just to make it a little bit less sticky. And then all you need to do is, let me take that off so you can see, work out how that pattern goes. You need to go round. You soon learn which way it is, and it's this piece goes with the long flat piece. There won't be a big gap all the way around. Just put it on until you can see the gold embossing on the very inside all the way around the inside of the die. Then a tiny little bit of post-it note or washi tape and pop that through your cutting and embossing machine. If you don't have that, it's a really simple one to fussy cut. I have already done that step, so I'm just going to put these back away. And it's one of those things where there's lots of steps, so I need lots of space on my desk. Okay, so let's make sure that's clean. Right, let's go back to making the basic card. So this is my designer series paper, and it's cut at 12 inches, which is the width of our designer series papers anyway, by 5 1/4. And then we need to score it. This is going to be the front of my card, so I'm going to turn it over and score it almost on the back. So I've got my scoreboard. You could use the score tool on your paper trimmer if that works better for you. Okay. If you're making a lot of these little pieces here come out and you can put them where you need to score. So if I was doing 5 or 6 of this card, I would put these in, pop my paper in, and then just go straight down where they are. I wouldn't have to look, I wouldn't have to measure, nothing. I do use the bigger ball on here. I find that sometimes I'm heavy-handed, so if I use this narrow one, I can crack the paper easily. So I don't want to tear it or anything. It's great for card. It doesn't matter that I'm heavy-handed, but on paper you don't want it to be quite so rough. Okay, so here's our piece, scored at 4, scored at 12. Let me open this card again and show you. So it's this piece here, look. And can you see how this one folds over to form this little pocket? I'm going to just quickly fold these over so that they're on the score line and I know they're straight. And then I'm going to pop this back into my trimmer. I'm going to choose which one I want for the front. I think I might have that side piece for the front, and because there's no orientation on this paper, it doesn't matter. So I'll get my trimmer and we are going to cut this piece here. Okay, and this piece, oops, let me show you again. It's going to go like this. This piece becomes this front section here. Okay, so this is the, let me show you. This is this piece, and as it turns over, this piece will be my front, and this piece is here. And we're going to cut this one across. We're going to go from this first score line right down to the bottom. I'm going to put this edge in my little cutting tray here. Do you know, words are hard today, I'm sorry. Okay, and I'm going up to the score line. I'm going to put my blade into the middle so that I don't crease the corners. Take this piece off and I'm going to save it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it at the moment, but I might use it as a backing piece. I might cut like leaves out with it. I'm not sure, but it's too big a piece to waste. So we now have this little piece here that forms the space for our gift card. And I'm going to put across the bottom, I'm going to use tear and tape just for speed. You could use a liquid glue as well. And it needs to go on the very bottom, all the way up just to the first score line. Okay. If you are using liquid glue, just use a very thin bead. you don't need very much. It's not holding anything really heavy. And where this little piece is here, if you wanted, you could put a little dab of glue, you could put a little bit more tear and tape or a glue dot, but nothing's going to fall out of it, so I'm not too worried. Okay. All right, so here's the basic part of our gift card holder ready. Now I need a piece for the back, and it's just 1/4 of a sheet of cardstock. You just choose a colour that you think would work for you. I've chose Evening Evergreen because the colours on here are Evening Evergreen and Soft Succulent. And the back piece is going to adhere just onto that card. There isn't a fold with the card, it is literally just a flat piece of card. So I'm going to pop this across. And again, you could use tear and tape or liquid glue. Whatever works for you, and whichever glue you like best. For some things, you need to use a specific glue, but for most things, you can just use whatever works for you. Just gonna check that straight, yeah. Oh, I did exactly the same today as I did on my Facebook Live. I forgot to put the ribbon on. So, ribbon's my nemesis this week. I don't want to take all of it off again, so I'm just going to make a little space where my ribbon will fit. Okay, it'll go under here as well. Okay, I want it quite low down. I probably could take the bottom of this off. Let me just see. Yeah, I could take it off. Look, it is coming off easily. Or you could put a little piece of dental floss down. But as I say, I did exactly the same on my Facebook Live. Okay, so you need to choose a ribbon that will go across. I have the real red ribbon. I don't know if I want to have anything as strong as that. I might just use seam binding. I think that would look quite nice. Or I have the gold ribbon. No, I don't think I'm going to use that. I think I'm just going to use seam binding. And you need about 20 inches because it's going to go under the base of the card and all the way up and round the front again. But because I've already glued this down, I probably don't need as much as 20 inches. So I'm going to go with 2 pieces, 8 inches. Let's just cut these 2 pieces. So try and remember, don't do what I did. Try and remember to pop your ribbon in before you put that whole piece down. And I'm going to put just a little piece of tear and tape. Where did I put my tear and tape? I'm just going to put a little piece of tear and tape on top of the ribbon, just so that it makes it stick down. Just like this. Okay. I'm going to pop it in here. And I'm going to take that backing off. Let's just squash that down. Change this over. And then take the backing off. Oh, it doesn't want to come off. Squash it down a little bit more. There we go. Okay. And then I'm going to push that paper back down. So nobody will know that I forgot to do it earlier. Okay, and then I'm going to do exactly the same at the other side. So I've got my piece of ribbon. I'm going to put a little piece of tear and tape over it. Now, if you find that you need a colour ribbon and you don't have that colour, this tear and tape, not tear and tape, the seam binding, you can colour with our Stampin' blends. You can always colour over it, so you can make any colour ribbon you need. I didn't realise there was so little left on there, or I wouldn't have bothered cutting a piece off. Never mind. Okay, so I'm just going to line this up so that I get it in the same place. I'm going to change over my pokey tool again. Oops. and it's going to go roughly here. I'm just making a space here. See if I can take this backing off before I put it inside this time. Yeah. And then I'm going down, so it's this on the same line. Just move this a little bit. I don't want to get it too sticky. Just pop it in there. I could have just stuck it in, fast forwarded, and you would have been none the wiser, but you know, we all make little mistakes, but they're easily fixed. There we go. I'm going to put this back to pokey tool and put the lid on. Okay, so there's our ribbon that we put all the way under. Okay, I'm going to make the piece for the inside, and I've got a piece of just basic white, and it's cut at 3 3/4 by 5. All the measurements and everything I use will be on my blog, so you can follow the link on the YouTube channel and it will take you to my blog. And I'm going to stamp on the inside. I'm using the framed and festive set that comes with the whole framed florets set at the moment, and I'm going to put this one in. May this season be filled with peace and joy. I'm going to put that on the inside. I don't always stamp a sentiment on the inside, but for this I thought I'd just quite like one. I am putting a sentiment on the front as well. Oh, now I haven't used this stamp before, so I'm hoping that its stamps are just nice and straight and okay. We'll soon see. Yep, that's okay. I like these big sentiments and the font that they've used. I think they're quite sweet. Okay, and I'm also going to do a little flower. Now the flowers that we made earlier on the real red and the gold, I don't want to heat emboss the inside, so I'm going to use crumb cake, because crumb cake gives the illusion that it's like a goldy colour. So I've got my same flower stamp that I used. I'm just going to clean it, make sure all the Versamark is gone, and then I'm going to stamp just with my crumb cake, and I'm going to put a little flower in the bottom corner. You could do exactly the same on an envelope as well, so that it made it match. And I'm going to colour this in just really quickly with a real red light blend. Can you see how it gives that illusion of being gold? You could certainly do the heat embossing in here as well though. If you are colouring with blends, don't forget that they bleed through. So you don't want it on a paper where you're going to be able to see the back, because it would show. I'll show you as soon as I've finished colouring, I'll show you what I mean. If you wanted to colour and not have it show through, use something like a Stampin' Up marker, something like one of these, because they're the same ink as is in the ink pad, and it doesn't show through. Or you could use a watercolour crayon or just an ordinary crayon. For this flower, you could also have used this image, because this will colour the whole of this in. So we could have done that too. We could have inked this up in real red and done that. But I just wanted to colour today. And at the moment, I'm only using the light. You could go over, give yourself some shading by using the dark as well. Let's see how it looks with a little dark over it too. I'm just going to go from the middle. And it will fade a little bit. I find the red fades into the colours or blends into the colours a little bit quicker. And then I'm just going to go over with the light one. Just makes it show up a little bit more. Okay, so that's going to become the inside of our card. I'll put some tape on the back. This is what I meant about the bleeding, that you can see it through. And it does that with all the colours, it's not just because it's red. This will just fit nicely in here. If you wanted to give the illusion that that was embossed, you could go over with the Wink of Stella as well, and it would give it just like a little shimmer. Okay. And then we'll get to the front. Now on these ones, I'd used the frames from the framed florets set, but I didn't want anything quite as big. So I found in the Fabulous Frames set a very similar die. It's an oval still, and it will cut out, just move these, it will cut out into 2 pieces, just the same as the framed florets. So it's got the oval and the frame. The frame's a little bit different. Can you see how it's got lines and dots? And this one is almost like a pie crust where you would go over it with a fork. So that's what I've already cut out. I've cut one in basic white, and then I want to have the outline gold. When I cut these ones for my Facebook Live, I was left with lots of ovals. You can heat emboss on these, you can stamp on these, but what I found was this one fits just exactly. So that's what I did. I used the framed Fabulous Frames and cut out my gold one, and you get just that much waste. And I know that I'm not going to use all of these pieces that I cut out, and no, I think that just works perfectly. Okay, so let's pop that one down because we don't need that one. We don't need that big one. I'm going to put this back into its little packet. At the moment my desk is full of lots of different dies, and I want to make sure it goes back in the right place. Now I'm going to use the frame from the gold one and the inside from the white one. I've got the little Merry Christmas from this set. I don't want to use a big stamp on the front. So I've got my Evening Evergreen, and I'm simply going to stamp this across the front, but nearer sort of to the bottom, not right in the middle. There we go. Nice and crisp. Let's clean this one up. Now I'm going to start and attach that. I want it to go on dimensionals, so I'm not going to put everything together just yet, because I want to work out where my sentiments and my little labels are going to go. I don't want to start and stick it all down and put the frame on until I know where this centerpiece is going to fit properly. So I'm just going to hold it here. I'm not going to squish it down yet. And here are our 3 flowers that we heat embossed, and I'm going to put them around here like this. And actually that's just a perfect position for it. So I'm going to go ahead and stick that down. I'm going to stick this one down with my liquid glue, excuse my reach. And I'm not putting this one on dimensionals. I don't want this one to be raised up. I want this one just to be a little bit flatter, so that it's the stamping and the images that will raise up. There we go. And now I'm going to add these. If you wanted, you could use something like the stylus, press in the middle, and you could make these just push up a little bit. I'm going to pop them on flat like this, but you could certainly have them raised. Because mine are on this sentiment that's already raised, I feel that that's enough for them to stick out. I'm going to put glue at the bottom of the image only. I'm going to stick this one on first, and my other two are going to go on top of this one. Can you see how you've got that little raised area? So it already looks like it's raised up and a bit more 3D. And this one, I only need to put some glue over at this right hand side. I'm going to make it come round the frame a little bit. And the third one I'm going to put here, so I only need to put glue at the left hand side. I want them to look like the 3 individual flowers. There we go. And then last of all, what I did was I used some of the leaf dies. I used these 2 larger leaf dies, and I cut out some pieces in a scrap of evening evergreen. So let me just get those onto my desk. I wasn't sure how many I'd want, so I cut 3 of each. I knew I didn't want 3 of each, but I wasn't sure if I wanted 3 larger ones, if I wanted a mix. Okay, and I'm just going to pop these under like this, and I'm going to put them on with a little glue dot. And that way they will just find their own place to stick. I'm going to put a glue dot on the back and a glue dot on the front. And then if it's sticking underneath a flower, I know it will stay adhered. So I'm going to pop one just here. And let me see, I might use a smaller one coming down this side. And then I might pop another larger one up here. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so again, I'm going to put a glue dot on front and back of the stem. Like this. I've put it onto the flower, and it's just going to stick off the card a little bit. And it's going to go, it just hits, I can feel, on this little gold frame. So I'm not going to stick it all the way down. I know the stem is adhered, but I don't want this part to be stuck down. And then let me just check if I'm going to, I don't know whether I'm going to have 2 at this side or 2 at the other side. Now, if I put 2 at this side, it would stick out too far. And I don't like it like that, so I'm going to put another one at this right-hand side. Again, a glue dot on the back and a glue dot on the front. And between those glue dots, they will find where they're going to stick, and I know that they'll be safe. They won't fall off. If you wanted to add some little gems, you could do that too. Just going to tie this into a little bow and then trim. I always tie bows upside down because for me that's how it seems to work best, just because of the way I tie a bow, I think. Let's put that back up, and then let's sort our little bow out. I quite like it in the white. It doesn't take away from the rest of the gift card. I'm going to trim these little ends. Oh, I just need to move that up a tiny bit. I think I must have caught it when I was sticking it down. It's a little bit lower down now. There we go. That's better. I'm just going to trim these ends. I still want it to be quite a long bow. That side of the bow is just a tiny bit longer. I'm just going to trim that again. And there we are. That's my little gift card holder. I'm going to undo it. that's my little gift card holder. There would be the space for my gift card. I'll just pop in there. And if it's one of those double ones, it goes in that way, because then you've got that space at the top as well. So I hope you like that. I hope you'll give it a go, and check my blog for all the sizes and everything. And again, thank you for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I really appreciate your support. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye-bye.